This week, Marvel goes pro and makes their previous superhero efforts look like a weekend hobby with Eternals.
And we'll give you our reactions, opinions, criticisms, gripes, and bitches. But after we talk about the critics, we'll also cover Eternals.
And opening this week, Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Yes, the story of one family's struggle to live with balls the size of weather balloons.
It's 97 minutes shorter than Eternals with 10 fewer ethnicities.
That sounds like movie nonsense.
Welcome to Movie Nonsense, happening every Monday, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. If you've seen our videos, attended our live shows, or watch us in the Movie Trivia Schmodown, then you know we're all about the nonsense, and this show will be about new and different nonsense every week, and we're definitely going to prove that today. Depending upon the movies we see, the ones coming out, whatever inspires us, but we would love to be in front of more eyeballs. So check us out on social media at The Movie Guys, also themovieguys.net for podcasts, appearances in other radio and podcast shows, reviews, articles, etc. Basically, we are all over the internet. Just search anything. Search, and we'll pop right up, all right? So tell your friends, like and subscribe, share the post, all that shit that people say at the top of these shows, okay? I am personally broadcasting from Guys Weekend in Fort Collins, Colorado, with our guest, Justin Kaufmann, and several other people who may form the band behind us as the show goes along. I've set up a camera here in the billiards room, and I'll admit it right now, an alcohol or two may have been consumed by the panel today. And today with us will be our guest, Justin Kaufmann, radio producer, former host on WGN Radio, and star of Chicago's first above-ground comedy troupe, Schadenfreude. And also the creator of the Twitch channel, Chicago For Real, with his smash hit, Chicago Game Show. That'll be Justin Kaufmann coming up in a little bit.
Longtime friend of the show, and yes,
Absolutely.
hilarious guy, and this will be fun to talk to him. It's been a while for me, and I know you guys have been hell-raising there in Colorado.
We've had some fun. I got a story to tell or two about a horse.
Used to be a big deal. Weed was legal there, but now it's legal in many places, so it's not a big.
Pretty common.
Story.
They find it out in the street now.
Well, we did, in fact, see Eternals, like we mentioned at the top.
We did.
And so we created a little video to tell you our thoughts, basically going in and coming out. Immediately going in, immediately coming out. We didn't want to mess around. And there's still more to say after that, which will come back. I had to cut the video off, cut the video down. It's like, guys, come. We just went on about this.
It was a half hour of raw footage.
Yeah, whittled it down to a cool 9 or so minutes, but there's lots to see, lots to talk about with this film.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, the video is too large to put up here on StreamYard, so I'm going to have to share the screen, so we can take a sec just to bring it. Is the band? Oh, the band's not there, of course.
Band's not here yet. Sorry, can't have any time yet. They're going to file in a little bit. They're going to come in with our guests. They're in the green room.
Well, here goes our video.
Good luck, Paul. We're all counting on you.
Yeah, I think I got it. I think I can do it. I believe in myself.
I think I got it.
To and from Marvel's Eternals. Here we go.
Oh, look at this. I'll hold this, and it looks like we have a cameraman.
This is normally my job because I have albatross arms. So I'm normally human jib because I can get the camera furthest away to hold, for a selfie with 10 people in it.
Yeah.
So this is relaxing. I get to lean on the...
Right. Yeah, exactly. It'll look nice and casual. I'll hold this mic up a little bit here.
Oh, I did that wrong. He gave me the other job, and now I've done that. Adam, we are at the third Marvel movie of the year with a fourth coming.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. I've never been happier. I'm so happy. They should make a national holiday. People should get work off when there's a Marvel movie. That's how amazing I feel right now about what we're going to see. What are we going to go see, Paul?
We're going to see Marvel's Eternals.
Huh?
Who? Yeah. We covered that last week, certainly, trying to figure out who all these characters were.
Right.
And they're going to take their time to let us know. I think it's 2.5 hours. But, with Marvel, I'll take 5.
Oh, my God. Paul, is this going to be the year of Black Knight? Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, one of my favorite comic book characters as a kid because I always like the oddballs, like Moon Knight.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the year of Black Knight.
As far as I know, the critics have already crapped on this movie, and they're getting such joy out of it. It seems to finally, after 13 years, say, "Oh, what isn't as good as all the others?" That I really feel I'm going to love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to, because they're wrong every time. The critics are wrong every time. Who's Ant-Man? Ant-Man's too obscure. Iron Man's too obscure. That was the first party line coming out of that one. They're wrong every time. This movie is going to be, and I've started calling it after Shang-Chi, this is going to be the best Marvel movie. Because every one of them is the best Marvel movie.
And I hope I like this one because I already have a hat.
You do?
From it, yeah. It's a Marvel. I already have swag. So now that I have it, I hope I like it.
Well, Paul, you have like get him to the Greek hats and stuff. I mean, I
have a just getting started hat.
You have a Wimbledon visor.
I do, and it's gotten a lot of work.
Yeah. It hasn't stopped you from wearing it. Your love of the movie Wimbledon.
Now, I must say this: I always love Marvel's eclectic choices when it comes to directors. Right out of the gate, they got the Zathura guy to make Iron Man.
Right.
Chloe Zhao, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, directed No Man's Land. Gotta admit, didn't much care for No Man's Land. So I'm hoping that it's all Feige here, as it always is.
Here's a great place to be, Paul. For as big a Marvel fan as I am, I mean, from the comics to live action movies. I mean, I watched the Thor Hulk TV movie like 25 times. Just because I'm like, holy crap, Thor is in a property. But here's the great thing about the Eternals. I have no idea where Marvel's going now. Like, there was always then we're going to form the Avengers. Yeah. Fingers crossed. There was a lot of fingers crossed.
Infinity Gauntlet. Yep.
All right, fingers crossed if we get to the Infinity Gauntlet. So, I mean, they kept laying these breadcrumbs out there. And then it was like, oh my God, Marvel's gone cosmic. Oh my God, Marvel's gone multiverse. Oh my God, Marvel's gone whatever, miniatureverse or whatever. I don't know where they're going now. They could go anywhere. It's going to be a complete surprise, everything that happens in this movie. And it's going to start just like any other movie, and we're going to forget it's a Marvel movie, and we're going to go, we're in the middle of an amazing sci-fi movie. And by the end of it, people are going to be riding dragons.
It's going to be fun to discover what the powers are of some of these characters.
I have no idea.
Yeah, like Iron Man, he builds a suit.
Sure.
Captain America, he's a super soldier with a shield. No idea what any of these characters have for. So it'll be fun to learn what they are and then see them implemented and then the big showdown.
So I am so excited to see the best Marvel movie they've ever made, I'm pretty sure.
Well, let's do it!
Let's do it!
Proudly wearing my Eternals hat. If you don't like that movie, there's something wrong with
it. You're not my friend, that's for sure.
That's right, we disown you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're tired of the superhero movies, maybe it's because
it's enough for you.
You got like 10. That's true. But maybe it's because you got like 10 Batman movies out there and another one coming.
Right.
You got the same Avengers circling around the universe for 13 years. This is all new. Stop complaining. You had Black Widow, which is an extension of what we've seen before.
Right.
Shang-Chi,
this
which
is genuinely new.
Ties back into the first movies in the Ten Rings.
Yes.
This is just brand new. Stick around for the Stick around for the.
What, have you never seen a Marvel movie? Stick around for the post credits. Jeez.
There's two of them.
Two of them. Yeah. And bring someone to lean over to and go, who's that?
That'd be me. Yeah, I mean, this is complicated. And I love that because they aren't all complicated. A lot of superhero movies are fight the bad guy, here he is, how do we win? There might be pains, ups and downs, but this is like really complicated. Like, not just the fate of the world's at stake. Like, bigger.
Finally,
bigger.
Finally, some science fiction for the Babylon 5 crowd. That's what I'm saying. It's tomes. These guys are in costume from the very beginning. I mean, my dream is just a bunch of people walking around, each one in a different colored superhero outfit, hanging out. These guys line up in a row 50 times, and the camera pulls back 50 times, all of them in costume, looking awesome. And they must have done the screen test by just lining this crew up and backing up the camera and going, how would it look if we did that 50 times? Because it's perfect every time. It's amazing. And they're the Super Friends. It's Marvel beat DC to making the Super Friends. I mean, you imagine how Super Friends they're going to be in the next movie. Like this one, it's not an origin story because it starts. They just are from the very beginning, opening montage, and so I don't know. And more of this, more Super Friends, man.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes,
I heard he got ripped for this. So he got like buff for this.
Yeah,
he didn't get just like, oh, he put on some guns, shoulders, it's all chiseled there, and he pulls out a little Bollywood too. It's fun.
Yeah, and you forget because you're like, oh man, he got ripped for this. He's in superhero form, and the first things he does, I think the movie opens with 20 minutes of silence, of just like them doing stuff, right? Because it's text and so. And so he's real intense. They're all real intense, and then finally you get to present day, and then he's funny, and you're like, oh, that's right, Kumail's funny. That's the reason we like Kumail.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's comic relief.
And it's not the kind of comic relief that derails the movie.
No.
It's funny. There's a great balance between let's move the plot along, let's accentuate the characters, and let's get the comedy in there, as Marvel tends to do a lot. Except a lot more drama here, a lot deeper than most movies, a lot more stakes, bigger stakes.
But it's the drama of being a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, there's no normal people.
When we talk about how well
Except for Dane Whitman, who's not normal, turns out.
Exactly. But when you talk about how well Marvel handles superheroes, trauma,
yeah.
really, like how
Right.
well it was handled in WandaVision, how well it was handled in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and now it's handled here not in so much as what have I done as a superhero, and do I need to repent, and can I live with myself with the things I've done? It's more, who am I, and how do I fit into this universe? And when some things are discovered, it just opens up a whole new world of like what it means to be heroic. Well, a whole new level of what it means to be heroic. They found a new thing to explore about how to be a hero.
This one's entirely what if from within these people that have lived all these years. So it's the ultimate superhero movie. And it's like Marvel's always given you a way into the superhero universe, going like, but could you imagine if you had created these munitions, which then funded the thing, but you had the power to create a suit, or, it's always given that sort of thing. This one is just like pure superhero movie. Like, there are no normal people in this movie. There's no civilians.
You went nuts when they played Pink Floyd at the top.
Oh.
And I love when they did this. They don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
They've got their, was it Giacchino or Silvestri who wrote the Marvel Studios?
Silvestri.
Yeah. It's a great theme.
Yeah.
And you want to hear it. But, like, at the beginning of Endgame, when they start with Dear Mr. Fantasy by Traffic, Dear Mr. Fantasy, and we realize that Hawkeye's family's dead and all this. I was like, that is awesome.
Oh, there's one thing that Kevin Feige likes, Star Wars. Another thing he likes is James Bond. But there's a third thing that Kevin Feige likes. It's prog rock. And there are Yes album covers to spare in this movie. It is. I mean,
the last few shots
several times
full on
interrupts
like
in
News of the World. I'm pretty sure a Deviant's on the cover of some Asia album. If you look like that's a Deviant.
It's a Deviant. It's a Deviant.
That's my statement.
Well,
I'm going on a limb here. I like this better than Nomadland. I welcome what is next because it'll be new. Well, not Spider-Man. But, I mean, wherever these other movies go, if they start tying these characters in, it's going to be fresh and exciting, because I thought this movie was as well.
So, in summary,
Marvel has done something different with the superhero genre. Right when it was called for, right when it was necessary. You're not getting the same old stuff until you're tired of it. So, something new. Go see it.
And Black Knight fans will not be disappointed.
Might be just you.
Might just me. And there it was.
Sorry, I'm muted. Hello. Yeah, suck it, haters, is what I was saying with my voice muted.
What'd you say?
Suck it, haters. That doesn't apply to
you.
You are not that. But one quick update. That hat didn't fit. No.
That was unfortunate. It was one of those slim fit hats, which goes like this. And throughout the interview, Paul, it went.
It did. And so I gave it to my girlfriend, and it did the same thing to hers. I don't know who it's for. A kid, I suppose. Well, I'll stick it on eBay. If you got a kid, look for my eBay page. I'm going to put it on there. But, so what some other people like I said, some stuff I liked there.
We got some good stuff here.
Pretty dope. No question.
Yeah.
The referencing the Hulk and Thor movie. That's all Haskell, of course. But yeah, so what did we not cover that I had to cut out of there? All right, a few things. First of all, this. Oh, yeah, this I found and I put in there in post production, but this just makes you nuts, right?
Right.
Like, clearly, critics don't matter, right?
No.
And are always off base with the nation. So it's clear that 81% of the people like this movie, 48% of the critics had to have a problem with it because they had to. I mean, listen, here is New York Magazine, right? Eternals has been poised as a powerhouse for Chloe Zhao, meant to push this slick, tangled universe further than ever before into a realm where our tour's visuals stick, and the characters, played by the likes of Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek, seem soulful rather than like action figures with scant interiority beyond what the narrative needs to push a story along. So Angelica Jade Bastion seems like she went in ready to love it. So if you're going in not wanting it to succeed, yeah, of course she's going to give it a whatever the hell the green splatter tomato is on.
Yeah. The weird thing was, I went through the weird thing going through Rotten Tomatoes is I do not look at any of that stuff until I see the movie because I hate when I read something like that beforehand and I spend the entire movie going, well, this isn't too whatever. They said this is what? And I'm just like, I'm not enjoying the movie at that point.
Yeah.
But I did go look at some. And the thing that always strikes me when I go to Rotten Tomatoes is it's a guy that said this or whoever. It's like Joseph Johnson of his house, of My House in Milwaukee. Or it's like, who cares if this guy didn't like it? And there's so many oddly conflicting things too. There's a word salad of complaints that people make about Marvel that is in all the reviews, but they can't keep them straight because this one, of course, does not just try and trade in superhero stuff. It's a very difficult movie, which is probably why a lot of people didn't like it. But they try and throw out that sort of same review that they throw out for The Phantom or Batman Forever. And you're like, I've seen all the word salad of how you hate superhero movies, but none of that applies to this movie that very seriously did not try and be any of those type of movies you hated. So it can't win in their eyes. It's too long and serious, and superhero movies aren't serious enough. And, it's like, but again, it's all like a guy from Las Vegas might as well be the name of each of those shows that they're supposedly representing as movie reviewers because everybody can review movies now. It turns out it's not a superpower, I guess.
Yeah. And they're claiming MCU fatigue. Yeah. Because for 2 years, we didn't have a Marvel movie. So what are you complaining about? I mean, everything got pushed.
MCU fatigue is another part of the word salad they haul out.
Yeah.
So tired.
Well, the other thing I didn't mention that I cut out of mentioning there was the Game of Thrones tie-ins, which were great. Not just Ramin Djawadi, who wrote the score. He's been there before. I think he did the first Iron Man, correct?
First Iron Man. This is the only second score he's done.
Famous for, of course, the music in Game of Thrones and the legendary theme. But you got Richard Madden, if you've liked him and wanted to see more from... what was his Stark character name? That's losing me. But anyway, him and, of course,
Lord Killerton. I've never watched
Killerton.
I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Well, yes. Naked, Bloodington. And then, of course, you got Kit Harington in there as well, who kicked so much ass as Jon Snow on Game of Thrones. Just show after show, just bloodied and Robb Stark. Thank you, Haskell. Madden was Robb Stark, and of course, you had Jon Snow in there. And all these actors you saw in that show, you wanted to see more out of them. Of course, we got Sophie Turner went over to X-Men, but I think this is one of the better places for them, the MCU. So I'm happy to see that and would like to see more. And it looks like the guy who played, why is it? It's been like a couple of years on a lot of these.
And it's another thing
one of them shows up in Moonfall. Anyway, there you go.
It's another thing that DC's not doing is like, this is a very culty actor thing to go like, all right, let's get some badass characters from Game of Thrones and put them in our movie. DC's not doing that. That's a cool Marvel choice, Like we say, they take indie filmmakers and then these actors everyone loves from something that's cool and kicks ass with dragons, Cool Marvel moves.
Oh, and the one we left, I cut out of there. We talked about Scott Derrickson of Sinister and directing
Hellraiser 5,
directing Doctor Strange. But we didn't talk about the guy who directed Clown. Now is coming out with his third Spider-Man movie. It's just a crazy choice. Then again, I think I've mentioned this before. It's all Feige and
It is.
he has his thumbprint all over this thing. He has the plan for this thing. He has the long-term, long-range plan, and I'm thankful for that.
Well, yeah, he's brought back the old vibe of like, who's the producer of those famous name producers of like Gone with the Wind or whatever, Selznick, and you wouldn't connect one Selznick movie to another. One takes place on a boat, and one takes place on a plantation, or whatever. But you're like, the Selznick name, Feige's got that whole Selznick vibe of like, I mean, because otherwise, how can it's literally, we've seen it proved too many times, this amount of inconsistency is impossible. Certainly in superhero movies. I mean, you couldn't get two super movies in a row that were good back in the day. And, and here he is, 26, 27 movies, 29 movies in. And it's like, yeah, it's him, because it's all different actors. It's all different scripts. It's all different heroes. What's the common denominator? He's so good.
Yeah. And this is a good thing, too. Even in the aftermath, they're starting to bag on the film because $70 million was on track to make, and it made 71, yet it's underperforming.
Oh, underperforming. Well, I might have tweeted this or maybe just put it into a draft, but I was like, Marvel movies aren't meant to be seen once. I think we know that at this point, because you go back and a maligned movie for some reason, like Ultron, everyone goes back after WandaVision and goes, oh, never mind, it's a masterpiece. Never mind, it's a masterpiece eventually comes around on all this stuff. They're not meant to be seen once, and yet they're only being reviewed by people who have seen the movie once. That's flawed. Yeah. They're Marvel movies. They're not meant to be seen once.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, maybe by having to see them twice means that they're more complicated than you thought in your original shaky take on the thing. So, I mean, just that scene alone, just watching, Hawkeye witness the death of his family at the top of Endgame. I try not to go to YouTube comments, but I have to admit there were a lot of great comments on that scene that YouTube viewers were leaving, and you can dissect just that scene, just that pre-titles sequence with Hawkeye and his family in so many great ways. Like the way he's like confused for a second, then he turns and he like is real. Am I next? How did they die? He goes into like all the different nuances. It's not just, none of this stuff is just, we're making a movie. It is so dialed in. It is so specific in every way that, again, and I've said this 100 times, if you dismiss it as a superhero movie, that is on you. You are not paying attention. This stuff is complicated and interesting and complex.
Well, that's the genre criticism of the business too. Name how many comedies have won Best Picture. How many comedies have won Best Actor? Like comedies are maligned, superhero movies are maligned. I don't know. Yeah. Some genres just don't catch a break.
Yeah. And I'm surprised we haven't heard from the religious nuts yet, because Marvel has a whole theory about how the universe was created does not align with the Bible at all. But
right, because Marvel does not give a fuck about the religious implications of like, and here's the guy that created light, and here's the guy that created life, and here's the guy that did it in 7 days. You're like, aren't all of these God? Is anybody going to? But you know what? I remember walking out of what was the Noah, right?
Mm-hmm.
No movie,
the Aronofsky movie, it's out of its mind.
No movie should have been more protested by the religious people than Noah, and just clearly none of them saw it. Like, there's abortion in that movie. There's so much crazy shit.
There's like giant monsters, and I'm like, why not? Yeah. The whole story is so loony. Why not giant monsters? Sure.
Hey, religious right. Would you like to protest this movie about Noah? And it's like, we're not much of an art house crowd. That's basically what happened. I don't know. If it's Scorsese or something on mainstream, we'll check the Monty Python. We'll check that out and call them assholes. But this art house stuff, we're not in.
But they should tune in, because late in the film, they do have a character who is killing in the name of God.
Yeah.
And they love that. Crusades, et cetera, right on down.
That's on brand. That's on brand.
So they should really get in there and watch it. I'd like to hear their thoughts. So yes, this is I thought it was a fantastic story about characters finding their humanity, and that's
as I often say,
it's struggling with their superhumanness, but these are discovering their humanity. I thought it was fascinating.
But at its heart, and this is one of my major compliments for movies like this or Star Wars, all I want to see is superheroes doing superhero stuff, superheroes doing superhero shit, superhero problems. They got all that stuff, They're just superheroes doing superhero shit. in costumes. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. That's go check it out. They're under appreciating it as ever, and time will tell that that they did underappreciate it. Oh, and that someone else agrees with me there on that. In a few years, we're going to look back with a deeper appreciation.
100%. They will look like geniuses all over again. They now they get to be underestimated again, which is rare for Marvel. Hey, it's new ways to try and bring these new people in, and then in 5-6 years, whatever, at the end of Phase 4, be like, it all tied together. They're geniuses again. The critics will lay off, and they'll look for the next chance to strike. And they'll keep being wrong. It's crazy.
I can't wait till these characters tie in with the already established MCU characters. I mean, I don't know how it's going to happen, considering the next few movies return to old properties like Wakanda and Doctor Strange and the Marvels. So it should be fun.
And one thing I didn't get to mention in that wrap up that I was excited about the whole time was we're now slowly getting this feeling of who's going to create the next Avengers. So somebody from the Eternals is going to be in the new lineup when they make the next Avengers movie eventually down the line. We know Black Knight's probably going to be in there, and Shang-Chi is going to be in there. So it's like, just imagine that when they get around to shooting that Avengers circle shot, right? When Avengers 6 or whatever it is comes out with this one, how many are there? 4? When they do that circular shot of the new lineup, it's going to be like Shang-Chi, Black Knight, and probably some, Spider-Man might be there still, but it's going to be good stuff.
And they'll have fun, as Garth is suggesting, I think correctly. So you'll have can go with Shang-Chi and Wong doing karaoke, so that'll be fun. All right, should we get on to Justin? I know we were going to talk about
the band's shuffling in right now to play some pool, but if you want to play in some music to play Justin into the scene,
no, just play pool.
You're going to do pool? Okay. All right, I'll introduce Justin.
Man.
No problem. No problem.
Schaefer never said, "Hey, we're into a real hardcore round of pinochle here, Dave. Can't help you."
They don't buy this. They don't buy this tip jar, this virtual tip jar shit. They don't think they're going to make anything out of it. So next up on the show, ladies and gentlemen, a longtime friend of mine, a longtime friend of Paul's. We all played together back in the day in Chicago, the improv scene. I've been looking for a chance to get all of Schadenfreude on the show. We had Mark Canner on 2 weeks ago, and I thought, what a perfect opportunity. I'm going to have to be broadcasting from Dude's Weekend here in Colorado from the billiard room. So why not just do the easiest thing? Don't do any satellite hookup and just sit Justin Kaufmann down next to me here. Come on in, Justin. Say hello to all of our wonderful movie nerd friends.
Justin Kaufmann, everybody. Certainly
up, Paul?
more skilled gentleman at this than we are. It's good to have you here.
Good to have you, man. How are you?
Damn decent. I wish I was on vacation, but I already chimed in from Arizona like a month ago, so it's Adam's turn, I suppose.
Oh, that's right. He was on vacation. I suppose I should share the horse story first. This is what's great is you want a good story coming out of a good weekend with some friends or whatever. This is we are off the plane not too many minutes, but we got into town and a friend of ours has a horse farm, which is so cool. We're like, let's do it for the Instagram, right? Everybody get on a horse. Look at that right there.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody hopped on a horse. We all got our hero photos. But the thing is, Paul, I'm a movie guy. I'm immediately back in a Western. And I'm like, this is what they did. I mean, Paul, have you ever ridden a horse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When you're on there, you're like, you watch Western movies and these people ride these things for hours. And you're like, what? You get on a horse for a second. And you're like, what? They did this? This was transportation back in the day? So I got kind of fascinated with it, and she started trotting the horse around, and we start going in tighter and tighter circles, and so the saddle starts to kind of go like this, and I'm kind of like readjusting myself, but eventually gravity's kind of catching the most of me. So I end up at the end of the ride in the circle. I'm about 45 degrees on the saddle.
Visions of Chris Reeve run through your mind, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Now, mind you, Paul. No. This was not riding. There was a horse there.
Yeah, she was
and
leading.
We just had to mount the horse for 5 seconds. We all successfully did that.
Everybody did it but me.
Except for Whit, who's like, we just looked over. He's like, whoa.
All right, so it's just Adam.
Well, I'm also the guy that's like, hey, let's ride around a little bit. And so we're going in more and more circles, and the circles are slowly taking me. But anyway, what's so funny is they're all up on the porch. They're looking at me out there. So I'm going like this, and then I just get to the point where like my shoulder's like a foot off the ground, and I drop.
It was yeah, a lot of action.
Still, that could hurt.
Huh?
That could hurt.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, as I said to my mom, I talked to her today. It's my stepfather's birthday. We'll have to send him a shout out at the end of it. Happy birthday, Fred. They're watching.
What's up, Fred?
She chimed in already.
Yeah, and but as I said to them at the end of it, it was when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of Chevy Chase, John Ritter, and I love pratfalling. And so I've actually known how to take a fall since I was a kid because I was that kid. So I can, anytime I fall as an adult, I'm like, I doubt I'm ever going to break a hip because I think I can always roll into a fall. I don't put my wrist out and break my wrist or any of that stuff. I've learned that long ago. So luckily my childhood admiring Chevy Chase and doing fake falls may have helped me.
You were it's a Lee Majors, real Lee Majors over here from the Fall Guy.
I never missed the Fall Guy right there.
But those are self-taught pratfalls, right? There's no class. You just kind of watch them and you're like, how do I do this and not hurt myself? Repeat.
Exactly.
Well, I'll share a funny story too, is because I did it all the time. My mom was used to it. I was tripping, falling, whatever I could do to get attention. Of course, here I am getting attention now. So this is that sort of stuff just continues. But the funny thing is, sometimes mom wouldn't have time for my antics. We would be shopping or whatever. Mom always tells this story. She tells me, oh, go get me, creamed corn or whatever, go get at the end of the aisle as she's shopping or whatever. And I run back with a bunch of cans and in front of another person, do the fall where the cans go everywhere and do this very convincing fall to the ground. But mom didn't have time for that. So this other person is like, oh my God, like it looks like I just got hurt. And mom goes, get up.
Mom of the year. They're thinking. Yeah.
She knew me better than the other person that thought I'd actually fallen. But
I got those photos. You were in a corral, so I thought maybe it could have just started bucking and going nuts. See, every time I've gone, it's been on a trail. The trail horses have backs that are shaped like that. You just kind of pivot yourself, but you're not going anywhere. And they know the thing to do every day. Just move forward and go through the trail, and you'll eat your apple and have your bale of hay or whatever.
Those kind of horseback riding moments are the equivalent of like Disneyland. Where the horse is like robotic and enjoy your ride and does the exact thing at the exact time. Yeah. This was a little bit more like, all right, have at it.
Yeah, the horses might as well have had tracks, underneath them, and then the bumpers on the side.
Yeah, like the boat in a small world. That boat ain't going anywhere.
Not worried at all. I saw a little expanse around you. I thought maybe it could go nuts, but I'm glad that was the worst it got. But fun though, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, totally fun. And again, like the movie guy thing about it is like, this is what cowboys did. I just watched all those Westerns recently and I'm just like, wow, like you watch it all the time, but you hop on that horse and you're like, this is what they did all the time. It's it puts you in the movies.
Well, Justin is here as a proud rep of Chicago. Still there. Yes. Yeah. Still living in Chicago.
Yep.
It's been many years for me, but the movies of Chicago last forever. So run us through what you've been doing on your shows.
Well, when I was working at GN, I had a WGN in Chicago. I had a tournament like a NCAA tournament, 64 Chicago movies that we went all the way down to the final.
What's the best Chicago movie?
Yeah, well, it's the best Chicago movie of all time, and a lot of that stems from. Right now, this is the golden time, even with COVID. Where they're shooting movies left and right in Chicago. Like the industry here has really got big, like with even the post-production stuff, like much more than ever has before. But in history, it was always a treat to be able to watch a movie that was shot in Chicago or about Chicago. I don't know if it's probably the same if you live in New York or you live in Boston or something like that, but we have an affinity for these Chicago movies. Yeah. I personally think more than other cities just because we are a big city and we like to see ourselves on the screen. But so there's 64 movies. We went through it, got to the Sweet 16, got to the 8, the Final 4, and we picked a winner.
So I've got the Paul. I've got all the matchups here. If we can run down a few of them pretty quickly, and then get down and maybe we'll discuss maybe the Final 4 or whatever. But just to let you know, and this is such a great thing he did over like 2 months or something, various nights on WGN. It brought all these experts in. You had like Roper and
Richard Roper and
Michael Williams,
Michael Phillips.
Both of them trashed Eternals. Anyway,
there you go. Right, but we also got like Peter Sagal and Eve Ewing and others who came on and played along.
Peter Sagal, the author of Havana Nights, Dirty Dancing 2.
That's right. And Sagal, I think he was. I had to check the. I think he was Risky Business.
Okay.
Like I let the celebs pick which movie they wanted to fight for, and so when Risky Business was up against, I forget which one it was up against, but I think Hoop Dreams. It was they got to the Elite Eight, Hoop Dreams, and Risky Business, or the Sweet 16. We had people come in and they argued on air, and then it would be the listeners who'd call in and say which one they would, would pick, and that's how we did it.
Now, Paul, I've got some of the brackets and matchups, and we could talk about here, and you could say which one you thought should win or whatever, and then we'll kind of try and burn through this real quickly here. But I do have the Chicago movie montage as well.
Oh yes,
which
awesome.
Which probably has music that's going to kicked off of YouTube. But
why don't we start? Why don't we start that? Because then folks in the chat can also chime in with their favorites. When we get down to the final four.
Okay.
You guys will have a strong opinion and join us in picking a winner, but this will give a layout of just the kinds of movies that were in the mix.
Okay, so let's kick off the Sweet 16. Then we'll say what won. Then we'll play the trailer. Then we'll say what won those, and then we'll take it through the rest with the audience interacting what they thought's the best Chicago movie.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Well, actually, do you want to throw up our Twitter poll first? Who is saying?
It's in the.
But that's the final four. We'll say what our audience thought when we get to the final four. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first matchups we had in the Sweet 16 were Home Alone versus The Untouchables.
Yeah, and I'll be quick on this.
Go for it.
Home Alone is questionable because a lot of people wanted to disqualify it because it's mostly the suburbs, and a lot of it, even though it was shot in the northern suburbs, also was not shot in Chicago.
You can't do that. You can't do that in L.A. It's too widespread. Like Father of the Bride's an L.A. movie, but it was shot in Altadena, not close, but still in L.A. Pretty close. Compared.
Yeah, and they had tours to see Kevin's house in Wilmette, one of the North Shore suburbs of Chicago. You can go on a bus and go see his house.
Yay! Yeah.
Thanks, band.
Peanut Gallery.
All right, The Untouchables, of course, one of the best Chicago movies. Then we had Risky Business versus Hoop Dreams. A generation loves Risky Business. They really go into it. That was like a coming of age movie for a lot of, I guess, boomers, or people right before that.
That's who really defended that one.
Yeah, and then Hoop Dreams is one of my favorites, and Hoop Dreams, of course, is the documentary that Kartemquin Films did about the two kids who wanted to go from a Chicago public high school.
Amazing movie.
The NBA. It's
incredible.
It's so
and almost cheating because it's so embedded in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like in reality, like
you can't get more Chicago than Hoop Dreams.
Yeah, a movie that could try to do that and fail in representing Chicago. Right. There's no mistaking how Chicago.
It's got such great shots in like early '90s Chicago. It's really good, and that film company has done a tremendous amount of Chicago material over time.
What else did they do?
They did the life itself, the Roger Ebert. They did City So Real, which was on Hulu, and they did a movie about gang violence called The Interrupters, which was also they had like a long-standing feud with the Oscars because they never picked them for like Hoop Dreams
didn't get nominated.
Hoop Dreams didn't get nominated. Roger Ebert blew a gasket.
As you should.
95. All right, keep going here. Then you've got The Dark Knight versus About Last Night. Now, The Dark Knight is also controversial.
I love those matchups. Those two movies have nothing in common except Chicago.
Now, The Dark Knight is one that's rough because you're like, that's not in Chicago, that's in Gotham. Yeah. So that's not set in Chicago, which we kind of are loosey-goosey with if it's shot in Chicago or it's set in Chicago. In this one, it's shot in Chicago but not set. But it's so iconic because
Gotham's a character.
Everybody knows the skyline and the bridges and the underground, the Lower Wacker Drive. So there's something about it that Chicago claims that movie because they showcased a lot of iconic Chicago shit.
Yeah.
And then the last one, then we've got Christmas Vacation versus The Fugitive. Christmas Vacation is another one that is not that your chat might know this too. This is one that is very questionable as well because it was not shot in Chicago. It was shot in the lot in California, and what they did is they faked the snow in some cases and created something that wasn't snow in the middle of LA to like all of the blanket outside the house of like whenever you come up like on the lights, the blinking lights bit. All of that is an LA soundstage.
Yeah.
And so they're like fake the snow. So it's kind of like that's an iconic Chicago one that wasn't shot in Chicago. So what do you do?
Well, you go against The Fugitive and lose.
Yeah, exactly.
The Griswolds.
Ferris Bueller.
Oh, go ahead. No, that's in LA too. The original house from Vacation, from the first big 82's Vacation, is here in Griffith Park.
Which I get. I mean, it's easier probably in the 80s and early 90s for that, but that rubs us a little bit the wrong way. Ferris Bueller versus Cooley High. Cooley High is a great movie about Chicago.
Lots of Chicago in
Set
that
in
too.
Cabrini Green in the 80s, and you get to see a Chicago it's like a time capsule. It's really great. Ferris, of course, people say that's a suburban movie, but obviously when they came downtown
Celebration of Chicago.
Yeah. Then you got Wayne's World, which is set in Aurora. And some stuff was shot here, but not all. So that's another one where you're like, not really sure if that's a Chicago movie. Versus High Fidelity, which is the John Cusack film that was in Wicker Park, that was based on a book that had a young Jack Black.
Yep.
In that one.
Oh, that was everybody loved Jack Black after that movie.
Right,
that was the one that really made him.
Right. So those are essentially your number one Chicago movies. There are other movies that didn't make the cut, like The Thief.
Thief didn't make it.
Michael Mann's movie, and also
Supergirl didn't make it.
Supergirl did not make it.
Transformers didn't make it.
Transformers was in there. It didn't make it out of the first run. A lot of votes for Best Friend's Wedding.
Okay.
Is also a Chicago film.
Never Been Kissed.
Never Been Kissed. Yeah. Like there's that.
What about Code of Silence? Chuck Norris's best film.
Chuck Norris gets a lot. There's also like all of the I think Above the Law. Is it Above the Law?
Above the Law is a Chicago movie.
His best film.
Yeah.
Both directed by Andrew Davis, who of the future.
Yeah.
So the guy knows what
Fugitive.
he's feeling with
and Chain Reaction in Chicago.
Chain Reaction also. A lot of those movies did. My favorite that didn't make it out was Running Scared, with Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines as two tough Chicago cops.
I loved that movie. What's the update on it?
Okay, the update is we watched that movie last night, and it did not go over with some of the crowd. Josh, thoughts on Running Scared?
It's just not a good film.
That sucks.
But what was funny was he kept hauling out actual cop protocol in the middle of it and going, you can't do that. You can't do that as a cop. That was so funny. He brought a real realism to it. Like, cops can't do that. That's not due process.
It's so chalked up with 80s that it's kind of like a hate watch in a way.
It's a hate watch.
Because you watch it, you're laughing your ass off, and because they're essentially like sarcastic cops, but it's Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. And they don't really come across as like these tough, gruff Chicago cops, but they're trying. Yeah. And then secondly, the secondary running joke is police brutality.
Yeah.
Where it's like every time they do something, they get subpoenaed, and it's a big joke of like trying to avoid the lawyers.
Dan Hedaya as the angry police chief.
So there's a lot of problematic material in Running Scared. But
it still does a lot of action stuff that's like that
Ricky
Thompson
Smits.
Center thing. Yeah, Jimmy Smits,
and the
Joe Pantoliano.
Yeah. And a ton of Uzis, Paul.
There's so many Uzis. The official gun of the 80s, to quote Fred Mowry. Yeah.
But yeah, I like that one. And the other movie I really liked that didn't get much love at all was Love Jones, which is a poetry movie, that romantic comedy that was set mostly on the South Side. And it's awesome. I love that movie.
Yeah, Lorenz Tate is he in that one, right?
Nia Long is a love interest in that one.
That's good.
Yeah, and that was Chicago indie. Like nobody was shooting indie movies in Chicago at that time. That was a big deal, and that was shot in real local neighborhoods. Like really feels like you're
poetry
in
slams.
Chicago. Brought a whole different Chicago to the screen for that.
Justin? Is there any Chicago movie before 1980 worth bringing up? Did they shoot there? Did they get this?
They did. So here's the story.
Charlie Chaplin's The Pawnbroker.
I'll give you a quick story. So I guess the mayor Richard J. Daley, who was like the kingpin corrupt, like number one mayor. All of the Chicago City that works. All that stuff is based on this mayor that was on for 30 years or something, right? His son became mayor after that, and another 30 years. Anyway, he notoriously hated Hollywood. He was pretentious, like he didn't like. He was like a lunch pail kind of Bridgeport guy. He didn't like that the hoity-toity Hollywood was coming in and closing the streets. So he resisted bringing Hollywood in. There's a great story, and I want to think
we had Code of Silence in here last week, and they tracked mud all over the place. No more movies.
Yeah, it was something like it's exactly what it was like. There was a movie, and I can't remember what it was in the '60s. That it might have been the Steve McQueen, Hunter, where it's
Hunter.
like and he
drives down the Marine Towers.
And Daley hated it. Like he was just like, I can't believe you trashed our city like that. No more.
The book was better.
Right. And so when he died, they had a runoff election, and Mayor Jane Byrne, the first woman to become mayor of Chicago, took over. And there was a little bit of animosity between the family, the Daley family and Byrne and her. And so she was the one who gave the
Blues Brothers?
The Blues Brothers.
And
at the end of that, they destroy the Daily Center.
Right.
And that would, a lot of people in Chicago see that as like a slight, like a big F to like Daily, because that's his center. And then like at the end, John Belushi and what's his name? Aykroyd go flying through and smash right into the front of that thing.
Yeah.
Which like sacrilege, my building. So that's how, like, politically, they didn't like Hollywood for a long time.
Hey, I was not aware of the context underneath all that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Some movie trivia for the audience. Who plays the assessor that has to stamp their papers at the end in the Daily Center when they're getting the thing?
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Here's something you haven't mentioned yet. This is My Bodyguard a Chicago movie?
My Bodyguard is a Chicago movie written by Tim Kazurinsky.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
And Donna La Pietra, I think, is the other. I'm not sure if it's her. Adventures in Babysitting is a Chicago movie. That there is a lot of Toronto in there.
Yeah.
There's like some weird spots when they go to like the Blues Club that, like is Chicago, but then they have other stuff that's not. But that's another one that's people love that movie in Chicago. Not the remake, but the one with Elizabeth Shue.
Right. Oh, they remade that?
Yeah, they've remade it a couple times. It's like for Disney bullshit. And I think Jonah Hill. I think Jonah Hill was in one like a remake.
It's called The Sitter.
That was The Sitter.
It's the same shit.
I think it's,
and Transformers.
Oh yeah, I've got the best Transformers story. So
best Transformers story.
I took my son to see the Transformers when it was like maybe he was like 4 years old, 5 years old. Wait, not the best move, because the movie I can't even understand it as a 47-year-old. Yeah. Like it's just like a lot of robots and shit's moving around. It's like missiles but the claim to fame is it was always shot in Chicago, right? And there's one of those movies where they just wreck the city and do the Avengers plot that I think the Avengers did afterwards. It's the same plot. You know which one I'm talking about? Like the one where they call up to the aliens and the aliens come out.
Right. Dark of the Moon.
Yeah. It's the same plot as Avengers.
Okay.
And I think it precedes Avengers. That's what's annoying.
It does. Yeah. That's true.
So anyway, that movie franchise, I was watching, I lived kind of downtown, and we were watching in Roosevelt, which is downtown. And there's a shot where two of these big ass robots are CGI'd onto the train lots downtown right next to this theater. And in the CGI, the two damn robots fight into and crash and collapse into the building I'm watching the movie. Right? Imagine that. Like you're sitting there and you're like, we're in that building. And like two things just devastate, just like destroy it. And I was like, I'm trying to tell him like in the quiet. And he's like 5. I'm like, that's us.
We're there.
That's us right here. Yeah, exactly. Like nobody cared. But I'm like, I don't think that you can say too many. Maybe in LA, maybe they have some of that kind of stuff. But it's like there's not too many times you'd be sitting in a place that is ruined on stage, just devastated while you're sitting in.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
That's like the Tingler move. There was an old Vincent Price movie called The Tingler, and that's the one with the vibrating seats that scared everyone. In some point in the movie, the Tingler got into a movie theater. The movie goes dark, and you only hear audio of the theater that you're supposedly in. Yeah. That was like, that's a very Tingler move.
And then I think this is accurate too, right? Trial of the Chicago 7.
Trial of Chicago 7 was shot here.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And they did it in Grant Park, and that was most of that was here. I think that if you're in the courtroom, they do that somewhere else. But
yeah. And of course, the Candyman movies also.
The original was at
Green,
and I think the remake was too.
Yeah, I think Jordan would have shot there.
Jordan shot.
But the new one's really good.
There,
really good.
Yeah, those are both Chicago movies. Yeah, I'm trying to think. If you go down here, and there might be more that we don't.
Adam, what other Chicago movies might we want to consider when picking the best?
Well, here's a few movies when you're thinking about Chicago that might come up.
The question isn't what are we going to do. The question is what aren't we going to do.
Don't say we're not going to take the car home. Please don't say we're not going to take the car home. Please don't.
If you had access to a car like this, would you take it back right away? Neither would I.
How about that? Source code.
Adam, right? They edited the hell out of that. Nice work, my friend.
I love that. That's my favorite thing on the internet.
I've edited a few movie montages. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, it's already on the internet? Then why would we get in trouble? I think we're still on the air.
Yeah, no, we cleared and owned all of that. Every little shot.
Right.
Yeah, we went to everybody.
And that weird 80s song from Ferris is ours too. We bought it.
I mean,
So-
the Weird Science, Public Enemies, Wanted, I saw in there. Spider
Yeah.
2, Red Heat, U.S. Marshals, My Best Friend's Wedding, Color Money. You forget about all those. Of course, only
Right.
a few can be the best.
You're absolutely
Only
right.
a few can be
And
the
we could
best.
probably go to. I mean, you probably could do over 100. I mean, there was so many movies that people would call out saying, "Where's this one? Where's that one?"
Yeah, exactly.
You know, a lot of it was you start with 64 and then you get down to the movies. But it was kind of a foregone conclusion because there's kind of like a Mount Rushmore of Chicago films. Beyond, like all the ones you just mentioned that were in the montage are great. But these are the four. I'll give you the final four.
Here were the final four in his
Yeah.
ultimate competition.
They were all the number one seeds. Like nobody, we knew it going in. Everyone was going to vote for Blues.
This is who's going to go.
The Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers, 1980 classic, John Landis, written by Aykroyd and Belushi. And it's such a Chicago film. And they've said it a million times. It's an ode. You know, they're romanticizing Chicago. It's like a love letter to Chicago. So that's number one. The other number one seed was The Fugitive, which the Harrison Ford, like you mentioned, the director, what's his name?
Andrew Davis.
Andrew Davis. Amazing movie. I mean, one of the best thrillers, regardless of what town it's
Such
shot
a
in.
big Chicago
But
deal,
it's
too,
a
you
huge
know?
deal. And yeah, there's so many great and very. It gets a lot of thumbs up when it comes to like the accuracy of it. There's a lot of Chicago in it, and they do a good job of showing cool Chicago and not just the Sears Tower, like some
Right.
of the John Hughes.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah. Speaking of John Hughes, Ferris Bueller's Days Off is Ferris Bueller's Day Off is one of the final four films, one of the best John Hughes films for Chicago by far. Breakfast Club was in there a lot, and that is set in a North Suburban High School. And I think they shot a little bit on the external of that when they're walking away and like, yeah. But most of that is not shot in Chicago. That's like one of those where it's set, but it's not shot.
Although I had a summer job in Chicago, and I had to go park a van in the parking lot at that school,
It's New Trier.
New Trier.
It's a secondary. It used to be a different, like a North Shore high school, and now it's like the freshman campus of New Trier.
Okay.
Is where all those Main South is where it used to be at.
So some guy tells me we use this parking lot up there at some school or whatever. He goes, park the van. And I pull up, and, I've seen Breakfast Club so many times, that entrance where all the cars pull up at the beginning. I pulled my car up there. I'm like, and it's just like, it's like seeing a celebrity.
Yeah.
I'm like, there it is.
Well, for everyone who's not a Chicagoan, John Hughes was a big Chicagoan. He shot all his films here. So you have that whole canon of romantic comedies from Pretty in Pink to Weird Science to 16 Candles. Home Alone was I don't know, Hughes did something with Home Alone, but
He wrote it.
Yeah, the idea being they're all shot in Chicago in this one little North Shore area of Chicago, like a suburban area. So there's a lot of people who are like hardcore in Chicago who will say they're not Chicago movies.
Yeah, the other thing is there are also locations out here. Steph and Andy's homes from Pretty in Pink are out here.
Ferris's
And
home.
some kind of wonderful places are out here as
Right,
well.
right,
There's
exactly.
a mixed
Yeah.
bag of locations from a couple different places.
That's what I
But
mean.
No doubt
And-
there's hearts in Chicago.
The only one that really gets into Chicago is Ferris when he comes in. The rest are kind of all set around their high school.
It blew my mind when I actually heard the Ferris Bueller commentary, which is John Hughes. If anybody finds that DVD, it's a great commentary. It blew my mind when he pointed out, because I just had never thought that there was any of that was shot in Los Angeles. That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. At the end, when Ferris is doing the run through the yards, that's all L.A., and he points out that one mistake they left in is when Ferris is running down the sidewalk, there's a trash can full of palm fronds that have been cut off of a tree. And now I can't unsee it, and I'm like, it blew my mind. I was like, that's in Los Angeles?
All right, and the final movie is The Untouchables, which
Pretty
everybody
Chicago.
loves. Sean Connery and Kevin Costner and Robert De Niro, who steals the scenes. There's a few that we play in those montages where he's doing the baseball, or even the stuff before it that, as Al Capone. Still pretty great.
All of that except for the Canada sequence is totally Chicago. I think.
And they're all they shoot they make it out to be Prohibition era Chicago, and they do a ton of stuff like in the old Two Flats. They get some addresses wrong.
Oh yeah,
That kind of throws people.
Racine.
Yeah, when he flips the match thing on Sean Connery's address, it's It's an address that Sean Connery wouldn't have been living at. So
Yeah.
that's his.
But that apartment looks like the exact. If you go to the block from High Fidelity, that it might as well be in the same building.
It's those old school architecture in Chicago that you could see in like neighborhoods like Wicker Park.
Yeah.
That's
the little round
the shot
thing.
of the old Chicago house.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that shot of LaSalle, where LaSalle ends downtown, of course, was used in the big funeral scene of Dark Knight. But you don't have to dress it up much for Untouchables to make it period. You just throw a few old cars in it, and you're right there.
Yeah, Hudsucker Proxy shot on that strip too, and it just looks exactly the same. Yeah.
That's why I think people like it too. Untouchables always gets up top, billing. So it was essentially Blues Brothers and the Untouchables, Ferris Bueller versus the Fugitive. So Paul, if you had to pick between Ferris Bueller and the Fugitive, what would your vote be?
I went online and put together my list, and it's pretty much the same. Blues Brothers, Fugitive, Ferris Bueller, Untouchables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would pick if you had to pick the Fugitive or Ferris Bueller, which one would you pick?
This was in order, so I would go with the Fugitive.
So you would pick the Fugitive. What would you pick?
Between what?
Ferris and the Fugitive.
Ferris and the Fugitive. Ooh, Ferris. Got to go Ferris, man.
Celebrates Chicago a little more, but I mean, it's still the Fugitive is very Chicago.
Harrison Ford, man.
And the accuracy, like you said, and the cops. They're so blue collar. And
let's see what Richard. What do you like?
Oh yeah, you love the cop in Fugitive.
Ferris or the Fugitive?
There's only one answer. Thief.
Thief, baby. Big thief stand right here.
Josh says the Fugitive back there, but it was the close one. On the other side, you've got the Untouchables versus Blues Brothers. That's hard. Everyone's going to pick Blues Brothers. Yeah. Even though the Blues Brothers not the best movie. Like at the end of the day, you're like, all right. Yeah. And so there's a long.
Sorry, I can no longer be.
All right, and that wraps up the show.
No, there's a lot in there. All right. It's still a great movie. So it was consensus that Blues Brothers would win, and when we came real down to the wire, the vote was very close. But Ferris Bueller edged out the Fugitive. So
wow,
Ferris Bueller and the Blues Brothers as the best Chicago movie.
And who won ultimately?
Well, who would you pick on that one, Ferris or the Blues Brothers?
Ferris or Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
What would you do?
Probably Blues Brothers, yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys? Blues Brothers?
I mean, it's Chicago.
Yeah,
Blues Brothers.
Yeah, so Blues Brothers kicked Ferris's ass, which is surprising to an extent and it was funny when we did it. The demographics played out that old white dudes love the Blues Brothers, and women voted for Ferris Bueller.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, also, there's a location. I think it's Cameron's house is out here in Long Beach, I believe. So there's a little cheat again. So I don't think Blues Brothers was straight up down the middle Chicago.
It wasn't, but Blues Brothers has like those iconic shots. When you're talking about they do Lower Wacker before they do all of the downtown stuff.
Yeah, that's what's funny. It changed. In Chicago, when you used to drive Lower Wacker, you would say the Blues Brothers Lower Wacker Drive, and then as soon as it became, as soon as Batman came out, you started humming dun 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 dun.
Yes, the Blues Brothers has Maxwell Street.
Oh yeah.
The Blues Brothers also has Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin. And that's hard to beat.
And the locations you find Ray Charles in and James Brown's church in are totally unique and different from a lot of other movies as well.
And the best one was the when they're like stall because the Blues Brothers are late to their final concert and they tell Cab Calloway to stall. And he gets out there and he goes, "Addy, addy, addy," and I'm like, that's a brilliant joke. Like, Cab Calloway's gonna stall.
Cameron's house is in the burbs of Chicago. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's in the North Shore area, and it's a famous
it's in the news every time it sells.
Yeah,
right?
You'll get every 6 months you'll get a story from somewhere being like, how much does a Ferris house cost? Yeah, it's in one of the north suburbs.
Yeah, the Nightmare on Elm Street house is for sale right now, and that's all the rage, pretty much.
Oh wow,
that's LA, right?
That's LA. Yeah, been there.
Although, and I don't want to digress, but I just watched Nightmare on Elm Street last week for Halloween, and I didn't realize it was so Twin Peaksy. And then I read a whole article that David Lynch was inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street for Twin Peaks.
I did not know this.
Yeah, when you start watching it, because it's I don't think it wants to be like
It's got all the
campy.
dream
Yeah,
stuff.
Twin Peaks has got, is like campy on purpose, where you're like everything is almost like a parody.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
itself.
yeah. It's a soap
Nightmare on
opera
Elm Street's
parody.
not, but I think I could see where David Lynch is like, I could parody the shit out of this.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. Anyway, I digress. But the winner was Blues Brothers.
What did the poll give us there, Adam?
The poll, our audience, I asked them the exact same movies, and Untouchables won that one.
Yeah, that's because there's probably like a
that's our audience, and so
You can see the check mark there. That's my vote. I voted for Blues Brothers.
that was you. Okay, Blues Brothers, right?
All right, listen. I just confirmed on the internet, so it has to be true, that it's in fact Ferris's house that's in Long Beach, California. So either way, there was a cheat by the movie to not be 100%. If you're gonna, because again, we're picking between 4 awesome movies.
Yeah.
You got to get picky at that point to pick a winner.
Yeah, I mean, it's any of those could win. I think that it was ranked that way though going in. And we knew it would be Blues Brothers, Ferris, Fugitive, close, and then Untouchables fourth. You could make an argument it was close for Risky Business. That was like the 5, and then from there on out, it was like everything else.
Yeah, I liked About Last Night as well. That got an honorable.
Yes, you didn't even mention that. That is the best romantic comedy of all time. That movie starts. It's based on a David Mamet play.
Yeah, Sexual Perversity in Chicago.
Adapted by Tim Kazurinsky.
Yes,
right, yes.
Again, written by Tim Kazurinsky. And the beginning scene with Jim Belushi and Rob Lowe on the L.
Yeah.
And he's doing the monologue. So last night, let me tell you what happened.
Many actors have done this monologue.
Oh my God. I was like, that is such an amazing, but I was just like, what a great way to start. What an interesting way to start an 80s rom-com.
Yeah.
Is she a pro? We don't know yet. Yeah.
We don't know yet, right.
And
there's a heavy dose of 16-inch softball in
Yes. So that's near to his heart.
Yeah, that's the Chicago game. So, and at the end, they have the great scene where Demi Moore shows back up, and they're going to go out.
Rob Lowe goes away with her.
Rob Lowe is about to go out with her, but he's got to play the game, and he goes over to Jim Belushi. He's like, "Get out of here! You're no good to us here." And then he goes running after her, and they do like a camera, like a helicopter kind of shot of and they play like the 80s rom-com song. That's
John Waite.
It's like the same guys who did like
Saint Almost Fire or something,
but it's like it's like it might as well be no,
it's John Waite specifically, but it's
right. It's a great, if you find that song, if you find it on YouTube, it has the actual last shot and like the whole thing. But the music is so 80s, man. It's so spot on. It's a great way to end a rom-com, and it shoots up to the Chicago skyline, which is great.
Can we find it?
On here, they're also mentioning, like I said, Peggy chimed in. Was While You're Sleeping get an honorable mention for me?
While You're Sleeping was
I
a big
moved
one.
to Chicago about a couple of years after The Fugitive came out, and they were shooting While You Were Sleeping. So that's the first one I kind of saw being made and then getting released while I lived there.
Yeah.
And this is the time where I met Paul, and Paul was a magnet. If a movie was shooting in Chicago, he knew where, and and Paul, you remember the movie that we stayed out late at night, standing on the street, watching, trying to get a glimpse of?
But I mean, who wouldn't want to catch a glimpse of Mel Gibson in his prime? If you're talking about Payback.
I'm talking about Payback. Paul and I stood there for 2 hours watching him go up to Deborah Kara Unger's door and ring the doorbell and then walk away. And we're like,
that's funny.
And then smoke a cigarette waiting for the next shot.
Yeah.
While you were sleeping got a lot of votes too. I think it made it into the second round at least.
Yeah, Peggy, that was in the montage I played here. You can play this back, and it gets
that movie's extremely weird.
It's odd, right?
That's the plot premise is real thin, man. Where it's like she woke up out of he got hit by a train, they had amnesia.
Yeah,
and then he just pretended like he was his girl or boyfriend and girlfriend, or she did that. That was the bit. She did it.
It was a different time.
The guy he was in love with, she pretended to be.
Yeah, she pretended that they were already together.
Yeah.
That's a
Serendipity? Chicago?
They did it. It's called Goldie Hawn's boat movie.
Yeah, right.
That's what it's called. It's the exact title.
Overboard, right?
They should rename the remake of that Goldie Hawn's boat movie.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Paul, do you want to talk some Chicago movie theaters or wrap the show up? What do we want to do here?
Actually, I have that. Did a little easy, quick research. Was if anybody had a heart, heart.
That's
The
it.
sun will be
Oh.
Yeah, that's John Wayne. Singing the theme
Yeah,
from Hot Last Night.
we're listening to that shit all night.
Yep,
tonight.
yep. I think we're gonna do
Yeah.
that.
All right, some others to throw at you, and if you have a story about them, Justin, let me know.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, let's see. What do you got in the shot?
it's Bullet San Francisco or part of
Bullet
it?
is all San
That's
Francisco.
all San Francisco. I thought.
No, but there's
Hunter, the Hunter
Yeah,
is McQueen in Chicago.
Okay.
there's like and Hunter's involved. Like it's a I don't want to say like a spin-off, but same genre.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Hunter, I believe Hunter is from the same novelist who wrote Die Hard. I feel like there's some connection there.
I forget that was a book.
Yeah, and also wrote the John McClane character was originally played by from another novel was originally played by Frank Sinatra. Do you know this trivia? Yeah.
Oh, I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the same guy that wrote Roderick Thorpe, who wrote Die Hard. He wrote another book, and they made that book. And John McClane is played by Frank Sinatra. Yeah. And in fact, when they started Die Hard started going into production, they were trying to go, well, should Sinatra play the character still? And they're like, no, what are you kidding me? It's 1986.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Yippee-ki-yay,
Hey, baby.
Sinatra's deal is he had right
I saw the Weatherman in your montage,
Oh, really?
there, Adam.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
that's
was it?
funny.
The Weatherman. I saw that in your montage.
Yeah. Weatherman was
Stephen
in there?
Conrad,
Was-
yeah.
How about either of
Gross?
these? Child's
Yeah,
Play and
Child's Play was
Flatliners.
Flat. I don't know if Flatliners was Chicago. Was Flatliners Chicago?
Flatliners, the original was not. The original was California. I don't know about the remake.
Oh, that's right. They remade it. Maybe that's
They were supposed to be in Northwestern.
Yeah.
Oh, but
see,
it wasn't shot there, I don't think.
Maybe they got one shot in there. You're
Yeah.
right. This is where it gets so hard because you're like, there's one. Here's a great movie to throw out that
Child's
people,
Play is a Chicago
people
movie.
would get mad and incensed. Is the movie Midnight Run a Chicago movie? And
it moves
a lot
too
of people
far
said
between two
no.
different places.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, yes, that's like
It's a road movie, so some of it's Chicago,
Yeah.
but a road
I think
movie.
It starts or ends in Chicago.
Well,
Yeah.
you showed Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Same could be said for that. It moves around.
Right. That's barely a Chicago movie. That's there because that image is so iconic, you know. And did you catch the big mistake I made in that?
That's the Sting.
The Sting, right. The big mistake in that montage, which I never re-edited or whatever, was I put in the wrong shot of When Harry Met Sally. I didn't put in the
Yes,
University of
there's
Chicago
another one.
part.
When
I actually
Harry
put
Met
in the New
Sally,
York one.
Well-known, iconic New York movie, but the whole beginning of that movie there in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't like putting that. I didn't like that one made the list, and it got a lot of votes. Like the hard part was,
You just
what
made
I
the
did
list.
is I had like a really small sample size, probably like 150 people or so that took it, and they didn't necessarily early on like a movie like The Thief, right? The people really like Michael Mann's movie, which a lot of people probably would say is more Chicago than a lot of the movies that are in the finals, Sweet 16. But people voted on whether they liked the movie or not, or knew the movie. So if you were if you Thief up against Transformers 2,
Right.
you're like, I know Transformers 2.
Yeah, what is Thief?
Well, yeah.
It's
So,
about
I
the
mean,
Green Mill. What's the Green Mill?
and they're like a movie like Haskell Drexel's.
Romance.
yeah, Medium Cool was
Medium
in that montage briefly. That motorcycle shot was
Yeah.
Medium Cool.
Yeah, well, not Drexel. What's his last name?
Haskell Wexler.
Wexler.
Yeah.
He his movie Medium Cool, which was shot during the '68 Democratic Convention,
Yeah.
is another one that probably should be in the top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah, it's the
But people
iconic
haven't
Chicago
seen it.
movie, but
Yeah.
yeah. But that captures such a time in Chicago. That's street level.
It's like 75, by the way.
Cooley
Is
High.
it? Yeah,
Oh.
Cooley High 70s.
And I found the greatest piece of Chicago footage when he was doing this. I was doing the Black Movie soundtrack at the Hollywood Bowl, and there is a movie with not Richard Roundtree, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly, and it's a Chicago movie. I think it's called Three the Hard Way,
yeah.
and it has some of the best Chicago footage. Like when Fred Williamson meets his lady, it's under the two towers there, you know, and he's kissing her.
A lot of blaxploitation movies were in
Yeah.
Chicago in the
And that
60s,
run they do
70s.
down Wells Street, this giant run
My
down
friend,
Wells
my
Street.
friend Lee Bay, who's kind of like a historian in Chicago, he's on the editorial board at Sun-Times. He really gets into like being able to see Chicago in these old movies.
Yeah.
And he puts them up on Facebook. He finds all these movies from like the 50s and 60s that are shot down in the corridors of downtown that are nothing like they are now. I mean, completely gone.
You had to shoot down there because it sounds like the mayor would have thrown you out if he caught you shooting
Yeah, right. There's a lot
on
of
the main streets.
exactly. This is before permits.
Well, so yeah, I mean, Adam, if you wanted to do the movie theater quiz or whatever,
I'll do a brief movie theater quiz here. We were going to do something about Chicago theaters that aren't there anymore, but instead, this is an easy one that I don't have to do much prep for. Paul, if I name the movie, can you tell me what theater in Chicago you and I saw that movie in?
I told you I'm going to have about 50% luck on this. Go
Okay,
ahead.
because I have a really crazy memory for who I saw what movie with. Like, I saw Last Boy Scout with Andy Enninger in Oxford's Princess Theaters. Like, why I know that, I don't know. Paul, what movie theater did you and I see The Big Lebowski in?
The Bijou.
The Bijou.
Good Lord. I do not remember. Biograph, when in doubt.
No, that would be 600 North Michigan.
Oh, yes. I remember
Paul,
the
what
old
movie
600.
theater did you and I see Austin Powers in?
Yeah, baby.
Man, I'm going to do less than 50%. I don't know. Name a McClure Court one.
Right there, baby.
You're going McClure Court? No.
No. Just name all the ones I saw McClure, because that's the one I remember. That was like the
Well,
place to go.
that's the easy one. Paul, the very first movie you and I ever saw together, what movie was that in what theater?
That was The Lost World at McClure Court.
Lost World, McClure Court. Yeah.
Never be able to tell you what movies I saw.
Oh, I just have such a crazy memory for it. I mean, you name one that we saw together. I don't know. I could tell you. Paul, we saw Austin Powers at Esquire.
Oh, right.
Also, funny story.
Of course, Braveheart.
One of the.
Classic.
Oh, you saw Braveheart there?
That popped in. I don't know why.
Right.
Braveheart double tape. When you get the VHS,
Double
it was a
tape.
double tape.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That was the best when you went to the store and they gave you the 2 tapes.
Titanic, McClure.
Yeah.
McClure, 2 tapes.
2 tape movie.
Casino's a 2-tape movie.
Now, Paul, do you remember the theater that was right next to FAO Schwartz in that shopping center in the basement? I could not remember the name of that for the life of me.
That was Water Tower, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, across the street was Water Tower.
No, you might be on
No,
it.
that would be the Hancock, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think Water Tower.
And then in the actual Water Tower place, there was one in the far back bottom basement was a movie theater that closed down at one point too, which I saw larger than life with Stephen Lewis there.
Well, we had the 600 and the 900, right?
That was not, is it 900?
Well, they were both, I think, on the same side of the street. I thought Water Tower was just Water Tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
There might have been a theater in 900 North.
There was 900 somewhere.
Are
That
any
might
of them
be-
around anymore?
I saw in the 900 Michigan building, I went to the lens crafter there because that was my eye doctor. And I saw Tony Kukoc in there. No big deal. No big deal.
No big deal.
6 man, the best 6 man of all time. Yeah. Oh, fun
wow.
fact, Peggy, did you live in Lakeview? Or is that where you live? Or Wrigleyville? Yeah.
Peggy, I think I could top that. I was just informed that my apartment in Lincoln Square from 20 years ago was lived in after I was by Kumail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Next
He was
tenant.
doing stand up in Chicago. I don't buy that story though because no one who has any aspirations would live in that shithole apartment.
Maybe he didn't have aspirations at the time.
Maybe
Maybe he hadn't met Matt Dwyer yet.
Yeah.
Did I have aspirations in Chicago? And I might not have. That's on me.
Paul, what movie did you see at? Name a movie you saw at the Village North and the Village. Do you have memories of the Village North or the Village? Neither are
Oh,
there.
yeah,
anymore.
Ed Wood.
The villages.
Oh,
Ed
which
Wood.
one?
The Village.
The Village.
Is the Village closer to... Wait.
Second
The Village
City.
is closer to Second City, yeah.
Yeah. I saw everything there. My God, I saw Chasing Amy. I saw Trainspotting. Any indie film I saw at the Village. Yeah. Village North was The Matrix and Shaft with Fred Mowry. We saw Shaft at midnight.
Well, then also the Midnights, yeah, that's where I saw The Legend of Fong Sai-yuk, the great Jet Li film. And that was the first time I ever saw wire work gone mad. And
Yeah.
I was used to
Right.
and then I see Fong Sai-yuk and it's like, it's just madness. I'm like, okay, that opened up a world for me. And then, of course, now there's so much crazy, kung fu movies that have that wire work in them. I've burned through as many as possible. They're so much fun.
What theater did you see Blair Witch in?
I saw that in Minnesota,
Oh, okay.
actually. Yeah.
It's at Piper's Alley.
Yeah, Music Box.
Music Box.
Yeah, I was there. I was training for the Disney Cruise Line, so I was already up there.
You got any good Music Box memories? That's an icon, right?
I saw Godzilla. No, I saw Gamera, the Gamera movie. What one was that? The one that came out in the 90s.
Oh, yeah, they were back when they redid Godzilla 99 Gamera.
So many art films have come through there. I remember Gamera.
Is that the one where they redid the Led Zeppelin song and P. Diddy was over the soundtrack?
That was Godzilla.
That was Godzilla, probably.
Here it coming, Godzilla!
Damn straight, Rich. All right, so should we get to? I don't know. What do we got left? Anything? Is that it? Well, yeah, I'll put in another 8 minutes on crazy movie talk because we didn't talk about.
We talk about Free Guy.
We have no time for Free Guy, but it is time for. What did you see this week? Well, you guys saw Running Scared, right? So that's one.
We also saw Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh, and we watched Weekend at Bernie's to follow that up last night.
That's terrible.
That's a hell of a chaser.
Just to cleanse the old
That's what I
palate.
don't understand, Paul. This crew is like, oh man, Running Scared sucks. It doesn't hold up. Now you want to see a movie that holds up? Let's watch Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
That movie didn't hold up when it came out, man. That is the
That'll hold
dumbest
up so
movie I've
much.
ever seen, man.
These are the people you're polling for your Chicago thing. Just doing it. I went to
Yeah, we
see,
got the laugh track.
I saw Antlers the other night, that
You did?
horror film from Scott Cooper, who is quickly one of my favorite directors.
And Guillermo del Toro produced that, right?
Yeah, and it's it's basically the Wendigo or Wendigo, whatever that malevolent spirit's
I was
called.
going to say, I heard that in the trailer, the
Yeah.
Wendigo.
Yeah,
The
so
Wendigo
it's
is the very first villain that Wolverine fought in Hulk 143. And this audience that we have, Paul, will back me up on that.
much like at the Eternals to and from. Okay, Adam, sure.
Sure thing, Adam. Whatever you say.
No, Antlers was
Wendigo will
great.
be the next. Then Marvel announced the Wendigo next week, and they'll be like, "Oh, the Wendigo is going to be played by named Al Pacino."
No, I liked Antlers. It was Scott
Yeah.
Cooper directed Black Mass, Out of the Furnace, Crazy Heart, and Hostels. They each kind of had to be, each one had to have a different tone and a different take brought to it. And the guy, whatever the genre is, and we talk about how much we like guys like that, like David Gordon Green. They're not going to be bound by, or Damien Chazelle. They're not gonna be
Genreless
bound
director.
by a genre. Yeah, that's cool. So he brings everything Antlers needs to the project. It's spooky, eerie. It's kind of humorless. It's crazy sober, and scary, and it's more scary in terms of just an unsettling tone throughout the whole thing. Really gory. I wasn't prepared for that either, and I enjoyed it. It was good. So there's your horror movie recommend for the week.
Okay, I'm
And
down.
you got Jesse Plemons, who's no slouch, in there as well, and
Right.
Kerry
He's
Russell. Yeah, but the child actor in it and the one who plays his brother, they're very good. The whole movie's kind of resting on them, which is a lot to weigh on a young kid, but they do a fine job. So,
Oh yeah, because it's all about the adults. You're like, "There's nothing in the woods, son.
Yeah.
Come on, you got a crazy imagination. Adults don't believe children."
no, my dad was attacked by him. Yeah.
Ha ha ha! He's nuts.
I saw The Power of the Dog last night. You're gonna hear
Power
a lot
of the
about
Dog.
that during the awards season. Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons again, Kirsten Dunst in a Jane Campion film. I guess she hasn't made a movie in a dozen
back.
years, but back in the day, the piano.
Piano, yeah.
Sweetie, I believe, was also her. And this one I'm going to be ruminating on for a while because I kind of didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like it more. And then I was like kind of done with it. And then the ending was really good.
Oh.
So it's one of those that
Yeah.
then you go, oh, I leave happy, but man, I was not happy for like an hour of this movie.
Right.
That this kind of
You know,
meandered through different character machinations and then landed on this plot device that was like, oh, okay. Oh, all right.
What was that
And-
called?
What's that?
What was that called?
Power of Dog.
Power of the
The
Dog.
Power of the Dog. It's this great American novel, and someone finally put it on the screen. So Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Cody Smith McPhee, Nightcrawler, and to speak your language.
Right, there we
And
go.
yes,
Speaking your
they were all there. They were all there for Q&A. So it's great to know the Q&As are back after being out for so long. The one before that I went to is The Harder They Fall. So yeah, those are back. Those are always fun. It's one of the reasons to live here is go down and hear these actors talk about making the movie. Benedict Cumberbatch seems like such a Brit and such a posh actor, but he's a regular guy when he starts talking about
Just
the
like
process
us.
in the movie.
Just
Yeah.
like us. Curses, chasing skirt.
I don't know if I'd go People Magazine on that, but yeah. But so that was cool. That was fun, and I like it. I also want to bring up something else real quick. We talked about the trailers last week and how they're creeping up music and bringing in the creepy kids singing. We
Right.
saw it again when you and I. What the hell did you and I? When we saw Eternals.
Yeah.
They showed the little clip from Morbius, and they did this to the Doors.
We have.
Dr. Michael Morbius, you've been missing for 2 months.
When you're a stranger,
Then you were found on a container ship that washed up off of Long Island.
faces look ugly. When you're alone.
Me and the Doors are kind of creepy. Anyway, but-
strange. When you're
that's how we get the band finally. How many times do I have to block
Well, and
webcam
also-
HD from the chat? All right, go ahead.
We'll bring it up next week. We're not going to talk about the dog this week. We don't have time. But we will have to play that trailer this week because I leaned over to you when we watched that. That trailer is like a dog that cures cancer and minor cuts and abrasions. He'll make this sad family and make it happy because he's the greatest goddamn dog you've ever fucking seen. We'll have to play that. That trailer gets way up here on how much Clifford's going to bring to that family. It's like, whoa, it's a dog, okay? It's a big one, but it's a dog.
Yeah. I am the. I think. Am I the only one out there who's getting? You guys are being really coming in and out. Finally, showing your Colorado with the internet service. No.
Oh, okay. Are we going in and out? We're plugged in the wall. I tried to get it going there. But the show's almost over, so we've made it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up then. You got the Ford report real quick because I have.
I didn't pull the Ford report because I was traveling, so no Harrison Ford report this week. But what
I saw on Us Weekly on the plane that he was posing with a bunch of Indiana Jones lookalikes.
I saw that. Yeah.
In Italy, like a total asshole.
How dare you? Enough of this.
That should be Justin's analysis of every movie that ends with like a total asshole.
Well, he's so old and he's in his costume and it's like 7 guys like dressing like the Ghostbusters, but it's Indiana Jones. And he's just like, all right, yeah. It's more
He's
Indiana
high as hell. You know he's high as hell when he's doing that.
It's so high.
Right.
And as ever, I went into the garage and did my own archaeology like Indiana Jones and unearthed another Harrison Ford artifact to share. This is a
Harrison Ford show and tell.
Yes, cast and crew screening invite for a Sunday 14th, May 1989 screening of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at the Odeon Leicester Square. So this will get you one invite.
Oh, wow, look at that.
To that
Is
event.
that Nonianta?
That's England, Oneonta.
Oh, that's a collector's thing. That's not.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to this. No.
Okay, gotcha.
Where did you see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Adam?
Princess Theaters in Oxford, Ohio.
I saw it somewhere in Buffalo, but I couldn't tell you where. It was the summer. Oh, I probably saw it right in good old Oneonta, New York. Yeah, that one I did see in Oneonta. But anyway, so that's the item of the week. And for news on that, look, we got to record this Frisco Kid episode and get it up because the Hanover Street's still out there as the most recent. But if you want to know all about that
for anybody who doesn't know, the Ford report, the Ford Fiesta is the show that comes out whenever we get it done.
That's true.
But of course, right as I was trying to get onto that episode, I'm traveling now, so yeah, it'll come out this week. We'll try and crank out another one because we've already recorded more American Graffiti with our guest spot with Bibbiani, so we'll try and get out 2 in a row because this has been absurdly long.
Yeah.
But what did you pay? As Paul F. Tompkins once said, if you're unsatisfied with our podcast, please see the podcast bursar for a full refund.
This is the other thing I wanted to last thing I'll mention, because we talked about the Lightyear trailer last week. And if we talk about critics and people not even liking movies, Movie Web puts out Lightyear's causing confusion, which could end in disappointment.
Oh, shut up.
Which is like to say, hey, this isn't Buzz Lightyear the toy. This is Buzz Lightyear the movie that the toy is based on in the world of Toy Story.
What does that even mean?
Why would it end in disappointment? Movie Web, unless you don't like movies.
They're doing a Lightyear movie. It's Buzz Lightyear, and it's Chris Evans playing the real Buzz Lightyear that the cartoon was based on.
Okay.
It's like a prequel. Everybody's going to understand it, but that critic right there, come on.
Justin, it could end in disappointment.
Yeah.
Justin, you think Miles is not going to figure out that Buzz Lightyear has a mythology that happens before Toy Story? These are Marvel kids now. They understand complex mythology like crazy. Better than we do.
Yeah, and they don't give a shit.
Right.
They're going to turn it on and they're going to watch a live action guy who played Captain America, and they're going to be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Best thing I've ever seen.
I think they're messing it up with the
You
logo.
ever seen the John Mulaney? Paul, have you seen John Mulaney's Sack Lunch Bunch?
Occasionally, yeah. There's a couple of
Okay.
things from them, yeah.
One of the best skits in it is he does a review of kids after they watch a screening of a movie. And it's a sketch. And one of the jokes is whatever kids just saw is the best movie they've ever seen. Everybody going around the room, that is the best movie they've ever seen. And he goes, but I have on the sheet that, Parrots too. They have some fake movies they're doing. That was the best movie I've ever seen. But now this is the best movie I've ever seen. and what was the voice in it that you couldn't place the entire movie? And then like, what was it like? Chris Pine. And everybody goes, oh, Chris Pine or whoever it was. Or Jeremy Renner. That's what it was. What was the voice that you listened to the entire time that you couldn't figure out who it was? Jeremy Renner. All the kids go, oh, Jeremy Renner.
All right. Well, that's movie nonsense. Yeah.
Okay. I only have one thing left to add, Paul,
please.
because this is my Dad 2.0, Fred Bowman's birthday. They are watching.
All right.
I had to cut off a birthday call to do a live show, and I said, watch the live show. We'll throw a happy birthday out there. Everybody throw a happy birthday to Fred Bowman in the chat. And if you want to honor him, you should watch High Plains Drifter or what's the Clint Eastwood one? There they are. That's my mom. And the Robert Redford Mountain Man movie, Jeremiah Johnson, or you can listen to a Yes album, and you will be honoring his birthday.
I for one was honored to see Yes with them, so that's very exciting.
Love it.
In spirit. And if you got a horse, ride one.
And fall off.
I have to ask, there's an Ed Bus clip in here. Are we showing that too before we go? Or
what's that?
There's an Ed Bus clip in here. Are we showing that before we go? Or?
Hello.
I put in Ed Bus goes to Fireside Bowl for just
That's
no
long.
reason.
It's
kind of long. Here, let's just watch the beginning of it. We can't get to Tommy though. I want to get to Tommy's.
This was shot.
Go ahead.
This is a short film we did Gonzo style at a Man or Astroman show at a punk club, where I pretend I'm an old alderman who has to campaign for the new kids. So I show up at this punk rock show, trying to interact with them.
A famous punk club in Chicago.
The hideout, or the Fireside Bowl. And they have no idea, and they do not fucking care. That's the bit.
It might be too long. We're going to play a minute of this.
All right.
Did you bring a clip, Justin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the one.
You want to set up the go? We already set it up. Okay, go ahead.
You already said it.
Destination Earth.
This is Generation Y. It's a younger group that we're coveting now, not Generation X, it's Generation Y. And so it's a concert situation, like rock and roll.
Okay,
it's a
like
musical
rock,
setting.
like the Fleetwood Mac.
It's sort of like the Fleetwood Mac. It's a younger audience, though, and they have that against an electric sort of
like
sound.
The rock
So we want
and
to get
roll
the vote out.
Like Nirvana.
Yeah. Somewhat, very much so. So we're going to get the vote out inside.
I saw the documentary. Okay.
I'm from the 53rd Ward.
Okay, I was born to do this. Born to do it.
What do you say about his company? What do you say about society?
Concert
okay, it's
situation
cold
be a little
out here.
So let's head on
so
inside.
let's go inside.
Let's do it. Okay, Alderman, let's head on inside. Do it. The entire point is getting the vote out.
Bowling? You didn't say anything about bowling. I love bowling.
It's the vote for Mayor Daley. How you guys doing?
Have Ed Bus come down here.
I'm sorry.
Ed Bus is supposed to introduce the band. Ed Bus, the alderman of the 53rd Ward, is supposed to introduce the fucking band.
Why does this matter to me? Who is this? Why does this matter to me?
You just vote for Ed Bus for Mayor Daley, okay? Over there. The whole table. You ever bowl?
fans right now. I sent you a fax and you said yes.
With your suit and your goddamn UNICEF
What are you talking
But
about?
I got a show in about a minute here.
I understand you have a show.
If you get your people out of here.
Okay, Dale. No touch. Dale! You vote? I vote. You do? Okay, good. I voted for the one that had the stuff that he said. All right, buddy. Let's go.
We are gonna rock. Oh, we are. Come on, man. Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you. There it is. Well, well, well.
Boom, baby. And that's Tom in the video there as well. That's why I threw that one in there. Tommy had a cameo. So as Justin says very accurately, so dumb.
So dumb. And that we did this before the internet. And so this was all, we would show this on a bed sheet.
Projected on a bed sheet during our comedy show.
During our comedy shows.
Yeah. And that wraps up another show.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it might have been a little more appropriate if Justin pulled your heart out right about now, but we'll take what we can get.
I'll bring that montage sometime.
Check us out every Monday at 3:00 and 6 Eastern. All right, follow us at The Movie Guys for daily jokes and links. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as iTunes, YouTube, all that nonsense. Thanks to Steve Schultz, who contributes jokes here and there.
Schultz!
Also in the great Windy City there. Well, not where you are now, but he's there now, representing.
Hell yeah.
Steve Schultz. Boom.
Boom. Good to see you, Paul.
Yeah.
Good to be seen. This is a great show. Thanks for popping in, Justin, and making a show, even though Adam's out of town.
Yeah.
I know, right?
We made it work. We made it work.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Bears.